Okay, welcome everyone. I am so excited to be here with one of my favorite people in the whole world, and I'm not joking. Berny Schwartz singer. Berny lives in Jerusalem. Berny and I met each other about more than 20 years ago. It's like 22 years, I think. We are both geriatric social workers. Both of us are totally passionate about helping seniors, taking care of seniors, and especially when it comes to memory. Bernie's claim to fame is that she's also a therapist and a bubby. She's really proud of that status, even maybe more than the geriatric social worker status. And it is my honor and pleasure to have Bernie on today. I could sit here for an hour telling you all the things that I learned from Bernie, but I'm not going to, because I want Bernie to talk and I want all of you to get to feel Bernie. And it takes about 1 minute to realize how loving and special Bernie is and why I love her so much and why I want to introduce her to all of you. So I'm just waiting for a few people to hop on. So Bernie, don't talk yet.
Okay.
Whoever is joining us live on Facebook, please say hi so I know that you're there. Please also tell us where you're from, because Bernie and I live in Israel, but I'm sure that we are going to have people on here from all over the world. So if you're live, please put in the comments live and please tell us where you're from. And if you're watching the replay, just do #replay so that I know that you watch the replay. And I am going to be watching out for the comments in Facebook, and I will let us know if you have any questions at any point, put them in the comments and I'll be throwing them at Bernie or me, whoever they're for, to answer. 1 second. I just want to make sure that we're live in the group. Give me 1 second. And I know we're live. I just want to see who's joining us. I have to check Facebook for that because we're in 2 windows here. Hold on 1 second.
I'm also wondering whether we should say that Bubby means grandma.
Oh yeah, Bubby means grandmother, for those of you that don't know that. Yes, Bubby. Thank you, Bernie. I thought everyone knows what that means. You're right. Bubby means grandmother. Okay, so I'm going to ask, we're going to do this like an interview. I'm going to ask Bernie some questions and she's going to share from her 50 years in this field. Amazing. And we call this 50 years of listening and creating because Bernie is incredibly, she's good at a lot of things, but she's very, very good at listening, very special listener and very good at creating a lot of amazing programs, which you're going to hear about very soon. Okay, Bernie, we have 4 people watching us. And let's see, Linda's from Jerusalem. If anyone else just hopped on, tell us where you're from. Just comment, tell us where you're from and tell us that you're live so we know that you're watching us. And we're curious to know where you're all from. Okay, so we're going to start. We're going to get started. Thank you everyone for joining us and just comment in the comments that you're live and where you're from so we know who's watching. Thank you. And if you have any questions, put comments in the question. I'll be checking them and we'll be answering them. So first of all, Bernie, tell us, how did you get into this field? And tell us a little bit about your experience. Like 50 years is a long time. How'd you start?
Well, I have to first start by saying how thrilling it is to be with you. We've been partners in crime for over 20 years and in a lot of different situations. And I just want to say that Rena is the real thing. And it's really a privilege to know her. And we have a great time together. And to be at the same table is a tremendous gift to me.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to introduce myself. I'm Berny Singer Schwartz. I've been in the field for 50 years. It's all I've ever wanted to do. I started at age 12 as a candy striper in 1967.
Wow.
How's that? And I was a volunteer in a hospital. In those days, we wore these uniforms that were red and white, and we were called candy stripers. And then at age 15, I became a nurse's aide in a hospital and in the summers. And that was a wonderful experience. It was a humbling experience because you were helping people with their physical needs. And it was personal care. It was very it was a wonderful opportunity for me. And at the time I thought I wanted to be a nurse, and I realized later I wanted to be a social worker. So at age 17, I was in nursing school and I started working in nursing homes. and in a particular nursing home. And I loved my time in the nursing home once a week on Sundays, and I hated my time in nurses training, which was 5 days a week. And I decided that I had it backwards. And I, much to my family's chagrin, I went into social work, never made the money I would have had I stayed in nursing. And that's just fine with me. That wasn't ever a goal. Never wanted the yacht. It was fine. And my family and my dear husband, they all understood and didn't expect more. So then I've been in nursing homes and in hospitals, in all different sides of the spectrum, for people who are on cruises to people who can't finish a word, who are unable to finish a word. So I worked with families, worked in the community, worked in a psychiatric day treatment center, worked in older adult tracks, just daycare programming, clubs, created clubs, ran clubs, lived by those clubs. And it's just been, and doing home visits, it's been a wild ride. I'm a forever student, and it's all I've ever wanted to do.
You loved every minute of it, right?
Yes, even the hard stuff. It was, the hardest jobs I ever loved. I wish you all to have those kinds of jobs. And, but they were not easy. Somehow nothing in my genetic DNA ever showed me how to pick something easy. And that was okay. I just learned it. And yes, it's been a great ride, and hope it continues.
Amazing. So tell us about your 3 biggest accomplishments. You have 3 big things that you accomplished in the field. So we want to hear a little bit about that.
Thank you. You're being very kind. I appreciate it.
No, I'm not. That's actually an understatement to what you've accomplished.
Thank you. There's some highlights in my life that if God took me tomorrow, I know I did these things. And besides, this is my professional life. My personal life has been great as well, incredible as well. In terms of my professional life, in 1997. Well, first of all, everything I've done that's creative has and made a qualitative difference, God willing, in people's lives, has all been with colleagues, with the most brilliant people on the planet, the most creative people, the kindest people, the most talented people, the most fantastic people. So I take zero credit for what I've done myself. I'm happy to collaborate and get stuff done, but that was because of the incredible people I've worked with. With that said, one of my first main highlights in my life was having the privilege to start with this collaboration of incredible staff and volunteers, the first English Speakers Memory Club of Millebev. We started it in 1996. We opened our doors in February 1997 with a crumpled piece of paper and 2 names on it. And
I love that.
And then that one crumpled piece of paper actually had the same name down twice. So it was 3 actual people. We opened up on a cold, rainy, snowy, sleety February Yerushalayim Black winter day, and under the most humble of circumstances. And we are now Millebev it's now 97, right? So it's over 20 years later, 25 years later, 24 years later, and it is the largest of the Moadonim in Yerushalayim, the largest of the programs. We called ourselves a club. We didn't call ourselves a program, we were a club. And the whole point was to have one heck of a good time every day. It was very structured, but it didn't feel that way. And we had motion therapy every day. We had learning every day. We learned memory every day. And it was an incredible thing. And it was actually, when the program was a year old, in the first year, we were researched and to check for whether the program was making a difference. And the people in the program they agreed to be tested, and the question, evaluated, assessed, and the families agreed to be evaluated as well, to be assessed and to offer feedback. And at the end of a year, our program was the English speaking memory club of Milabev. We had a sister program, the Hebrew speakers memory club of Milabev. We actually never sat down and said, this is what I'm doing, what are you doing? We each did our thing. At the end of the year, the result was that there was zero deterioration.
Wow.
The program was twice a week for 4 hours.
Wow.
In both programs, there was zero deterioration.
That's incredible. Incredible. And those are incredible results to begin with. I just want to tell everyone that when Berny started, this was very progressive. There was no one doing this in Jerusalem for the elderly. It's not like it was another program. There was no one doing it. It was the first of its type in Jerusalem, and especially for the English speakers. There was nothing for English speaking seniors in Jerusalem in the late 90s. Because that's when I came here. So what Berny did was really progressive at the time. And she was among the pioneers and the people who really cared enough about seniors in Jerusalem to make a difference and to help. So thank you for doing that work. That was incredible.
Thank you. I have goosebumps from what you just said.
Yeah.
Thank you. What made it also even more unique was it was for people that were going through cognitive changes.
Yeah.
So you want to be able to, we just had a blast. We had a wonderful time.
Yeah.
And it was all about how to make the quality of our lives better, how to build the relationships within a group. And we did a lot of crazy, and the crazy turns into the best programs. Fun. We had fun. It wasn't crazy. Yeah. We had a lot of fun. Our ideas were sometimes a bit off. We came up with, we wanted to have a fun time.
You invented it. You just invented everything. You created it. That's the creating part,
We created
that was the first thing. The second thing was the Memory Workshop Series.
Was the Memory Workshop Series.
Workshop Series. How can we forget that?
Oh, gracious. That was, as a family, we returned to America from Israel after 5 years. And I begged my coworker, who was just incredible, talented person, to take my job as the director of the English Speakers Memory Club. So, and then then our family returned to America. I was asked what I did in America. We moved to Pennsylvania. I told them what I did. They said, can you just sort of skim off the best parts of what you've done and turn it into programming, into memory programming, especially to help people anchor, because I was brought into the county of Lehigh to work with this incredible, talented colleague, a dear friend that we became dear friends, laughed a lot, and created the Memory Workshop Series, which was a program to help people learn about memory, anchor memory, and it was for the workers. It was created for the workers because they were just overloaded, and it was just really hard to keep everything straight, and it was exhausting. So my friend and I created the Memory Workshop Series. We gave it, the people that attended and that were part of Lehigh County said, can you adapt it for the community? Can you help our people to not burn their pots, to not get locked out of the house, to know who they're talking to? Could you just help them function better? So we said, sure. And we adapted it again, twice a week for 10 sessions. And we gave it between the personnel and the staff and the people in the community. We gave it to over 500 people.
Wow.
The program was, we worked. My colleague and I, fantastic person. And
and that became an award-winning program, right?
It did. Yes. We asked everyone to evaluate every class and the overall evaluation. And we put it all together, over 500 results. And we asked for the mean average. We asked not how much did you enjoy attending or how much did you enjoy the facilitators, how useful was the information? And the mean score came back after over 500 evaluations, 99.8.
Oh my gosh, incredible. Those are
Yeah,
incredible results. Wow. You're doing something good here, Bernie. Something really good.
sure hope so. So
And
it was submitted
yeah.
for a national award. It was a year
Wow.
old. It received from the counties in the United States. It received the national award, and that's called the Memory Workshop Series. And I brought it with the permission of my colleague. I brought it to Israel and adapted it for Israel. So that's my second
Fantastic.
thing.
And
Yeah.
just to let all of you know, hang in there because we're going to tell you more about something we have up our sleeves. Stay on to the end because Bernie and I have some really fun memory workshop stuff coming up for you. So stay on.
Absolutely.
And Bernie,
Absolutely.
the third
Yes.
big accomplishment or highlight, as you say it, is the family legacy. Tell us about that.
It's called the R Family. I had an opportunity to write and publish cognitive stimulation programming, which is this is what I was looking for, excuse me, when I was 17 years old and I was working in a nursing home and I was looking for cognitive stimulation programming, stuff that stimulates your mind in a positive way
Mhm.
and something that you could build on and something just who are you? What is your spirit? What do you want to do with it? What have you learned? And I was looking for cognitive stimulation activities and I couldn't find it. There was, Ivory Soap jingle and Maxwell House jingle but there wasn't anything about who are you and what have you learned and who are you now? There was nothing. So over the years, stuff started to collect, but there was nothing. So my whole life, since I was age 17, I was writing stuff down because I was doing cognitive stimulation programming as a group worker in the clubs and stuff. I was doing it. So I just kept writing it down. And then I had an opportunity in 1993 to actually sit down and write it. So I wrote, and I also asked people for guidance to make it that much more special. But I created 3 volumes of the Our Family Legacy, Our Family Legacy albums, and it's over 300 titles, and it's ancestry and how I got to be who I am now is volume 1. Volume 2 is who am I now? What's important to me? There isn't one word of advice in 300 titles. It's how to tell a good story. And then the third, and who am I now and what's important to me? And the third volume speaks to the social worker in me. And that's that every once in a while I would come across an adult child or adult daughter or son who would say to me, crying in my office, I can't, person who is invested going to the parent 2-3 times a day for years, getting them up, giving them breakfast, giving them supper, putting them to bed, coming back the next morning for years. And then they wind up in my office crying. Some people, my mom never said she loved me. My dad never said he loved me. And it was, if it had just happened once, but it didn't happen just once. And I kept thinking, there's got to be some way to guide people on creating a structure, a very happy, gentle structure, so they can tell people that they love, that they're special to them. So I wrote a whole book, a whole volume on different kinds of people in your life and how to do it. All these titles about how to tell someone they're special to you, that you love them.
Wow.
And so it was written for donation. Excuse me, we donated 150 volumes.
Wow.
All around Israel and in America as well.
Beautiful. What a beautiful project.
And the people that we donated it to said, can you please sell it to me privately? Every single organization in Israel that we went to said, can you sell it to me privately? And I talked to my editor, she said, you have to. So we sold another 50, 60, 70 volumes privately. So
amazing, really special projects that you've been working on, really making a difference in people's quality of life. That's what it's about. And you're doing it. You're amazing.
Thank you.
So what's your favorite part about working with seniors?
Listening. I
told you she was a good listener.
I started out at 17 as an activity worker in a nursing home, sitting at bedsides for people in their 80s and 90s and 100s.
I did the same thing.
Exactly. So what could I possibly offer
Mhm.
when I'm 17 and totally green here? And what I learned is what I can offer is I can listen. I can listen well. And if you listen well, you help people find their strengths. And when you help people find their strengths, and then they start kind of handing it to you in their conversation with you, and sort of imagery wise, if you sort of create a tray in front of you, an invisible tray, and you take their spirit that they offer you and their strengths, and you put it on the tray, and then you, when they start asking questions, you say, well, you've already answered that, or you've already offered a suggestion of that. And they say, well, what are you talking about? And I said, well, you talked about this. And you basically take their answers and you kind of polish them a bit and put them back on the tray, and then you serve the tray back. As people are trying to find how, a purpose in their life, they've already given their answers. And so what I love to do is listen and polish. And also, it's about hope, that everybody that's alive has a life spirit in them, and helping them, and respecting it. It's about, it doesn't matter how old someone is, how physically or emotionally or mentally impaired they are. They're human, and every human is deserving of dignity and respect. So for me, it was, every person that I approached, there was no way to interact without dignity and respect being the headline. And then people respond to that, and it's genuine.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So at a very young age, you learned the secret. You intuited, but you didn't learn it. You didn't learn this from a college. You intuited, you felt it. You had it inside. You had it inside, the secret. And then you just spent 50 years perfecting it and putting it into a framework and giving it terminology, and names, and working with people and helping people. So it's amazing. I'm always so inspired when I hear people like Bernie tell their stories.
Thank you. It's
So,
wanting to make a difference.
Yeah.
It's about, it's not just, it's about making a qualitative difference in people's lives, so they can integrate the difference and add more quality to their lives, add more quality to their day, add more quality to their relationships, and how they see themselves.
So let's give some good presents out to the people that are here. We want to talk about memory. We want to help whoever's here is probably here because they want to hear little tips, tricks, hacks, advice on how to improve their memory, because that's what I always talk about. Always. So between the two of us, we have like every trick in the book under our hats. So Bernie, give us some of your best memory hacks, some of the best memory advice that you've given out over the years that people say, wow, that makes a difference. Like, that's helpful. And the people that I think we have at least about 8 people on watching us now, at least. Tell us, just give us some of your good memory advice, tips, something that's helpful to people that they can walk away with.
Well, the first thing I'm going to offer is, if somebody has pencil and paper or whatever, pencil and pen, you may want to just take some notes. Because you may find it helpful and you may want to refer to it later. So, and also writing is a marvelous way of helping anchor information. So, and also it's visual. So there's everything good about writing. And I can just say that from my experience, my work experience, and also from working with my clients. The people who don't write they suffer in trying to retrieve information. Because
Bernie, you write down every single thing you say, right?
I in my session, when I was in supervision for training, getting my master's in social work, my supervisor said to me, when you're in session, do not ever put down your pen, because you write so much that if you put down your pen, you have basically said what you're telling me now isn't important. So with that in mind, make sure you keep your pen in your hand the entire time.
Okay, we're taking notes, Bernie. Go for it.
You're taking notes. All right. Number one. The number one is the mindset. There's a whole lot of negativity connected to memory, and the negativity of it's never going to get better. It's always going to be this bad. It's I can't do it. Don't expect me to. My brain is worthless. People say awful things to themselves, what's interesting is when people say awful things to themselves in public, and they're talking about them to themselves in public, the people around them might be listening, but they probably stopped listening a long time ago. They're just used to saying negative, awful things about themselves. And that has to stop. It has to stop if you want to improve the quality of your life. Because if you're busy beating yourself up, there's no space in there for any kind of hope that you can improve your situation. So the first step is, and we talked about, we're going to be offering some more opportunities to learn, and we'll go into the language of negativity, the words that just shoot yourself in the foot all the time. And those words that mindset just has to stop. So,
I have to tell you, I'm going to interrupt you to say that when I meet someone and I say my name and they say, I'm really bad at names, I'm never going to remember that. They don't even know what I do, but I do not let people get away with that anymore. Like I used to say, no one knows what I do. Okay, I'm not going to say anything. I'm like, no, you can remember my name. I don't care if you're not bad at names. I can right here, right now, tell you how to remember my names. I do not let anyone get away with that anymore. People always say, I'm bad with names. You're bad with names because you don't try, you give up before you start, you don't know the technique, or you don't believe that you can do it. So this is a huge piece of that.
It is. There's no point in starting. If you're just planning to beat yourself up, that's really unfortunate. I'm sure you're a good person, and I'm sure there's something valuable about you that you could have a more positive approach on how you look at yourself and your future. So number one, got to lose the negativity. And I know that sounds simple, but it means there's certain words that you have to give up. You have to stop saying certain words, finding better ways to say certain words. I was running an older adult track, which was basically for people going through depression and different levels of depression. That was so powerful that they were in and out of hospitals, in and out of psych hospitals and medical hospitals because their depression was so bad. And so in the program, I had up on the wall the 10 words, the language of negativity you could not use in the program day. And the participants would catch themselves and say, let's find a better way to say that. And they would practice finding a better way to say that so that when they got home, they would have a better way to say that.
Can you give us one example? Give us an example of one of those words, because when we do our workshop together, which I'm going to tell you about soon, we're going to go into this more, but give us one example of those words that we should not be saying.
Never.
Okay. Never say never.
Never. It's when someone says, I'm never going to get better. Well, shoot yourself in the foot right now. Right. There's no point. So, and it's always going to be this bad. No, it's not always going to be this bad.
Right.
You will have opportunities to make things better.
Yeah.
So it's a language of negativity.
Good. Okay. So that's the first thing. What's the next memory hack or piece of advice that you can give us?
Lighten up, everyone.
Yeah.
Lighten up. Give yourself permission to try something new. Give yourself permission to believe in yourself. Give yourself permission to believe you can make your situation better.
I love that. I love that. Keep talking.
When people say, what do you do? Well, one of the first things I say is that I can't make you 40 years younger and I can't make you blonde. That's not going to happen. What I can do is help you in this moment. I can help you in this moment. We talk about in memory, we talk about memory is the past, the present, and the future.
Oopsie.
We talk about memory is the past, the present, and the future.
Hold on 1 second. There's just 1 second. I'm hearing the sound twice here. 1 second. Hold on 1 second. There's just 1 second. I'm hearing the kickback. 1 second. I need to close Facebook. I was trying to respond to a comment on Facebook, but that didn't work well. I'm going to close Facebook. Okay. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, I was trying to respond to a comment on Facebook and then I was hearing it. So go ahead.
Thank you. So, gracious, lighten yourself up. Okay, lightening up. Then we talked about past, present, and future memory. So past memory, a lot of people give themselves a terrible time. Why can't I remember this? Why can't I remember that? That when we make memory, we don't always, okay. You find an old family photograph or a personal photograph. And on the back of the photograph, and it can be 100 years old. And on the back of the photograph, it's written in pencil, who the person was, where it was, what year it was. And pencil fades.
Right, right.
Ink does fade a little bit, but slightly, but pencil fades. So that's what we do often when we make a memory. We don't know if we made the memory in pencil or in pen. We don't know that. And so when we're trying to retrieve past memory, if we remember it, we made it in ink. If we don't remember it, we made it in pencil. So beating yourself up, if you don't know that concept and you don't know that tool and that strategy, that if you want memory, you need to make it in ink. And
yeah, I love that analogy.
So it's absolutely true. So to beat yourself up over not knowing how to make a memory in ink, you're just harming yourself. You just don't do that. Let's put yourself in a better place.
So basically we both teach a lot of techniques and strategies to help that make it in ink, to make it last, to make anchor it properly so that it's really easy to retrieve, recall, right?
Right, exactly.
So that's where our strategies come in and our teaching.
There's the process of making, storing, and retrieving memory. Those are three main components of memory. And how you make it, you have to make it and anchor it, and then how you store it and how you retrieve it.
Yep.
And all three areas are completely, they all connect, but they all have their own strategies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you need all of them for it to work.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you. That's helpful. I want to talk a little bit about like mental health and purpose. Like a lot of people, especially today with Corona has really affected everyone, and especially the older people who are isolated. It's just so easy to get into a depressed place or get into a place where you feel like, what's my purpose? And then also I've been hearing a lot of cognitive decline because people are isolated and not active and not cognitively active. So what can people do to maintain their purpose when they feel like either socially, cognitively, or physically they're declining? And we know how important maintaining purpose is to longevity. So but sometimes it's hard. For some people, it's a challenge.
Well, I think number one, trying to stay active socially is very, very important.
Yeah.
Because what you're going through is everybody's unique, but there's some common denominators that we all experience. And so it's not reducing your uniqueness to reach out to someone else. There's always someone that that you care about, that cares about you, that even if it's a daily phone call to someone, and just what's new and what you do and what you read and how's your day so far, and that's very, very important we're not living on an isolated island. So reawaken the good people in your life and your contacts with them. The other thing that you can do for your brain is to do stimulating activities. The brain has to be in the on position. It's like a light bulb. Your brain is really, the wiring in your brain is kind of, if you think about the wiring in a light bulb, until you turn on the light switch, you don't have light. And mindless activity is they did a very interesting study, and
Tell us about that.
a lot of research on this, that what happens in a sleeping brain and what happens in an awake brain. Okay, so they studied people that were sleeping, and they studied the same people when they were doing mindless things, things that did not, they had the TV on, but it was just background noise, and they didn't involve themselves in things, and they read, but they didn't pick up what they were reading. So they studied the people sleeping, and then they studied the same people when they're involved, when they're basically uninvolved in non-cognitive activity, in mindless activity. They learned something very, very fascinating, that the way the brain looks when it's asleep is in terms of the behavior of the brain, and what the monitor picks up in a sleeping brain is exactly what the monitor picks up in a brain doing mindless activity.
Wow. Which
means that if you think you're awake, but your brain is actually asleep, okay? And then you add to that the time when your brain is actually asleep because you're sleeping. So if your brain is asleep when you're asleep, and your brain is asleep when you're awake doing mindless activity, the question is, when is your brain actually awake?
Yeah.
And that's a big deal, because you can take your hand and you can pound all over the wall near the light switch, but if you don't hit the light switch, you're going to be in a dark room.
Yeah.
And so it's important to know that there's specifics, and one of the things we're going to talk about when there's more time in other opportunities to talk about it, is that the brain, the wiring in the brain, and what turns on the wiring in the brain, and what stimulates the brain for that light to be in an on position. You need the brain to be stimulated to learn, to make new memory, and you need the brain to be stimulated to retrieve existing memory. You need the light, period. And so it's very important. And there we know, and we're happy to share with you the how it works in terms that you can use. The whole point of our memory work is to make it practical and to make it useful. So there isn't anything bizarre, strange in terms of activities we're going to be doing with you and practicing with you. It all makes sense, or there's no point. So it's all practical.
Yeah, I'm going to take a minute now to tell everyone about what we're planning that we're super excited about.
Yes.
And then we'll go back to questions, and if there's any message that you want to give us. So Bernie and I have been plotting and planning because we want to work together. And
partners in crime.
And we have so much good stuff to share. We just can't keep this to ourselves. And when you put us together, you have like really a lot of stuff going on. So we decided to do a two-part workshop. We're going to do it January 11th and the 13th. I think we said that's a Monday and Wednesday, right? Or is it Tuesday and Thursday? No, we said it Tuesday and Thursday. Sorry.
Tuesday and Thursday.
Yeah, it's January 11th and 13th. And we're going to go into like what Bernie touched on, a lot of points, but there's so much more. And there's the tools, the techniques, the strategies for successful remembering. And we're going to give that to you. We're going to teach it and practice it. We have some really fun interactive activities. One of them, I'll just tell you a little bit. One of them is about how detail oriented are you and how that impacts memory. And it's a fun one. That's a fun activity. And the other activity, we're going to talk about the different types of memory. And that's also very interesting. You're going to learn a lot of good information, useful, helpful information about how memory works. The way Bernie says it, I'll give you the inside. Bernie calls it the journey to long-term memory, like how something that we want to remember gets to long-term memory, and the 5 trash cans along the way. Now, I know you don't know what that means, but you will. How our brain forgets, filters out, why it forgets, when we need to forget, when we want to forget certain things, we don't need everything. So that journey of a long-term memory, and there's a process that a memory goes through to make it happen. And when you understand it, you then can use that to improve your memory. So it's a really cool process, and we're going to be teaching that. So it's just a two-part workshop. We're going to do it January 11th and the 13th. We're going to be sending out emails about this. So please make sure you're on my email list. If you are, you'll get the emails. If you're not, either drop me an email or in Facebook Messenger, tell me that you want me to add you to your email list, or you can go to my website, which I'll put in the chat right after we finish. I'll put my website there. You can go there and join my email list from there. Make sure you're on my email list. I'll also be posting this in the Facebook group, but you don't always see all the posts in Facebook. So make sure you're on my email list. We're going to send out emails about exactly what we're teaching, when, how. There will be a fee. This is a paid webinar because it's super valuable, like a minimal paid fee, because this is we have like many years of experience coming at you here. And Bernie really knows how to help people, and she's been doing this for a long time. And we're going to give you some golden nuggets of memory, how to make memory, how to retrieve memory. So it's really good stuff. And I'm super excited to work with Bernie. So I hope I whetted your appetite a little bit. I didn't tell you all that we're teaching, but I just wanted to whet your appetite and tell you that it's coming up. And watch your email, watch this group in Facebook, because I'm going to be posting about it. And make sure you're on my email list so you'll get the emails. And we'll put in the emails, and on Facebook, I'll put the link to register for that. It's a couple weeks away. So we're still planning out all the good stuff, all the good juicy stuff we're going to be giving you. What do we call it? The secret sauce of memory. Maybe that's what we should call it, Bernie. The secret sauce of memory. I just thought of that now. So stay tuned for that. Bernie, what message do you want people to walk away from? Like, if you could just broadcast a message to seniors all over the world, what do you want seniors to know and walk away with? What message?
That's a great question. That there's hope, not hope in a quaint way of using the word, but there's things that you can do that, for example, there's chemicals that go on. There are chemicals that go on in the brain that if you're in a good mood, your brain actually creates chemicals that help you. And that's called dopamine. It's one of the chemicals.
Yeah.
And
it's powerful, right?
Very powerful.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is start. If you start doing something that gives you some pleasure, and whatever it is, and it helps you improve your mood, and then your mood, you have to initiate. It's not a passive thing. You have to actively decide, I'm going to do something pleasant, and it doesn't have to be massive, but it's something that's going to put a smile on your face. Do something pleasant. Yeah. And that'll improve your mood, and then that'll get the chemicals working in your brain that you want. Compared to if you are giving yourself a really hard time, or you're in a really negative space, it creates a stress hormone that's called cortisol, and that's an awful thing, and it actually harms the wiring in your brain. So generate the dopamine. Don't generate the cortisol. And you can just sit in your chair and do it. It's a mindset thing. So first of all, there's a reason for hope. Secondly is be fair to yourself. That if there's a great quote that you can't forget a memory you never made.
I love it. Love it.
And people think they made a memory. They carry groceries in, they drop into the house, they drop their keys with their groceries, and then they start doing stuff, and then they say, I forgot where I left my keys. You didn't forget where you left your keys. You never made a memory of where you made your keys. You didn't use enough sensory input. You didn't use enough senses, and you didn't anchor them to know where you put the keys. So At least be fair to yourself. If you didn't make a memory, don't be upset with yourself that you can't retrieve it. You put whatever information you did have at the time, you stuck it in a black hole. And then you want to go find it in your black hole. Well, that's not scientifically possible. So it's about, okay, what can you do so that you can know where you put your keys? Know you lock the door. What can you do so you're not burning your pots? These are practical things. And it's all about useful information, or there's no point.
Yeah.
And there's no age that you need to be in order to kick into this. I've had people in their 30s and 40s come to my classes.
Yeah.
And because they're struggling with something, or they want to make sure that they know what they're doing. And so I've worked,
do you know that every time I tell someone what I do, and I might be talking to a 30 or 40-year-old, every single time without fail, they say, I need that. I need that memory coaching. And I say, I know. And there's lots of reasons why people, we live in a very distracted world, and we're really not mindful. We're really not paying attention to what we're doing. And then we blame our memory. We say we forgot, but we didn't forget. We didn't pay attention in the first place because we weren't mindful of what we were doing. Right. So the younger people say to me, I need that. And I know right away, it's because they're multitasking. It's because they're not sleeping enough. It's because hormones, it's not enough vitamins. Like, there are so many factors that go into our memory and cognition working well. So I was very relevant.
I was asked if I ever wanted to give a class to college students in their first year, first semester, first year college students. I said I'd love to, because when they're wasting, very often lots of teenagers are having a good time and not necessarily doing what's healthy for their brain, but also if people learn in their teens and 20s and 30s how to anchor memory, then they're going to be writing in ink and not in pencil.
Exactly. Oh, I love that analogy. So let's look, and I'm just going to see if you have any questions. I know there is someone who's watching who said that he's blind and he can't write things down. Like you were talking before about writing things down. So what do we suggest instead of writing? You want to answer that?
There's different kinds of memory. Right. There's somatic memory. Instead of giving you the terms, I'll tell you how that helps. And that's that there's core memory that people have that this person's brain is filled with information. And I think that a lot of a requirement for memory is repetition. Yeah. One does not need to be visual to have repetition. So how you anchor, this person can do more emphasis on learning. It's first you take the information and then you anchor it, and then you reinforce it, and you can focus, and you can pay attention to something, and you can organize your thoughts so that you can anchor as best as possible. So the person has, whoever you are, sir,
Mark. His name is Mark, and he's incredible. He's an incredible person. He's been in my group and he comments on my stuff. He's incredible.
We talk about this all the time. Everybody's the sum of their parts. So in your parts, you have the ability to interact, and you have the ability to make, store, and retrieve memory. And so, yes, we can adapt that specifically to your situation. I was doing an activity and it involved memory of touch. And I said to the group, you cannot, and we passed around a bag, actually 2 bags. We passed around a bag, and for them to put their hands in the bag and without looking, and to feel what's in the bag. And then we worked with them to see how much memory they could retrieve from the items in the bag. And this one person said to me, I'm blind, so I can't peek. So what's the equivalent of my peeking? And I said, sticking your hand in the bag when no one sees. That's your peeking. And she said, okay, I won't do that. So yeah, we can adapt it, because it's all about your brain and how to help you anchor the information that you want in your brain in a way that it will work for you.
Perfect. Thank you. There's another question here. Linda's asking, I hardly recall things from my childhood. Is there any way to bring up those memories?
I will give you an example. The answer is yes. And it depends on a whole bunch of variables. And there was a fellow, I was doing a program in a senior center, and there was a fellow who was very, very depressed. Everybody he had loved had passed away, had moved away. He was just the poster boy for feeling miserable. And he came to, and the people around him were just, everyone expected he's just suffering and that's it. And he didn't talk, didn't participate, but he came every class and he wrote down things and he just didn't participate at all. When you run these classes, when you offer these classes, a lot of stuff happens during the break and at the end of the class or when there's a break for 10 minutes. And so he came up to me and we were learning, we had a structure of what we were learning and we were, let's say, about 2/3 of the way done with the course on memory. And he came to me during break and he said, you don't know me. You don't know anything about me. Basically, I've lost a lot. I've had a lot of losses in my life and I've been really, really sad for a long time. He said, what you also don't know about me is this was in Pennsylvania. He said, I built those big engines in the steel mill.
Wow.
I built those. That shows you how brilliant the man was.
Wow.
And he said to me last night, for the first time in 15 years, 20 years, in my head, while I was sleeping, I built an entire engine.
Wow.
These are the big, huge engines for the steel mills. He said, I built an entire engine in my head. And he said, you gave that back to me. He said, because I guess he started replacing all of that sad, yuck, depressed, he started replacing that with something healthier.
Yeah.
And he started doing more and more of what's healthy in terms of his brain, and his mood changed, even though it was kind of hard to see, but the mood inside of him changed. And now that he could build an engine again, it gave him hope.
Wow. Wow. Incredible. So
and also,
yeah, go ahead.
You don't know what variables, it's hard. My answer is give it time.
Yeah.
And also, you have every right to decide what parts of your brain, what doors to your brain you don't want to knock on.
Yeah.
And we all have our own, there's stuff we don't necessarily want to go to.
Yeah.
And there may be a reason that you're not pulling it out. Or it may be that you just did a lot of stuff with pencil instead of ink and not knowing it. Yeah. So don't give up on it. But also as Rita uses the word mindful, being mindful what doors you knock on, because you don't need to do that. It
sounds like it's a childhood memory maybe that she wants to recall. Like maybe there's stuff in there, but I think it's so overlaid by so many other memories, and we sort of have to dig it up. And there are some techniques for digging it up.
Absolutely. I always say that there's, that if you have 6 blouses in your closet, it's not hard to find your blouse. If you have 25 blouses in your closet, it's a good chance you're going to pick the blouse you didn't plan on when you went in.
Right.
So
that's also a good analogy.
So, there might be a whole lot in there, and you start going through the blouses and you take the blouse, you think, oh, this will work. And you don't actually take the blouse you went in for. So it depends how full different parts of your brain are. Yeah.
Okay. If anyone has any more questions, just put them in the chat. I'm going to look at the chat one more time. But as you see, there's a lot here. We have a lot to share in terms of memory help, in terms of techniques and strategies and explaining how memory works. Bernie's really an expert in the field, like really. And so January 11th and 13th, we'll be sending out emails. I'll be posting on Facebook. Stay tuned for it. We're going to do a 2-part workshop where we're going to share a lot of good information. There will be a fee. We'll let you know about that. And I don't see any other questions here in Facebook.
And I just want
but you can still post them and we can always answer them. Thank you, Lisa. Lisa Marcus says, thank you. This was amazing. You're both terrific. Thank you, Lisa. Lisa's another social worker in the field. And I'm going to collaborate with Lisa also. Great. Thanks for joining us, Lisa. Yes, Bernie, what else did you want to say?
Thank you. I just want to say that the strategies that we're going to be offering are the strategies that got us a national award. Wow. So these are tried and true strategies.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
we're gonna do
also
it.
everything we teach you, we practice with you so that you can integrate it. It's what I call news you can use. You want
I
to
love
put it
that.
in your hand, you want to take it out the door, you want to use it. If it's not news you can use, then I need to get it to be news you can use, because it has to be practical. And we will practice with you so that you get more and more comfortable with it.
Yeah. This is the reason I insist on doing my memory courses live and not just, making videos. I have my membership program that is, pre-done videos, and that's information and it's very helpful. But when we come to like what you're saying, where we want to hold your hand and practice it out with you, so we need to do that live. And that's why we're offering this opportunity to see both of us in action some more. And we are super excited to be able to bring this to you. So stay tuned and you'll get that information soon, hopefully. And Bernie, I want to thank you so, so much for your time, your expertise, for being here with us. We had at least 10 people watching us on Facebook, and they're still on there. And if anyone thinks of a question and later, you can always go back to this feed, the comment feed under this video. It's going to stay up in the group, and post a question. I'll see it. I'll come answer it. If any of you want to be in touch with Bernie, just email me and I'll ask her permission to give out her email. I'll be her gatekeeper. But I'm happy to pass on emails of people that want to reach out to Bernie and ask her any questions. Thank you all for being here tonight with us. Today, wherever you are, I actually have people here from Canada, and we have someone here from India. So this is an international live. And I love that. I love that we can be all over the world, can join us, and we can come together to help each other and improve the way we remember, improve the way we age, be more positive, be more getting in touch with us and what we have to offer the world. All of us, as we age, at any age, we have so much to offer each other. And that's what we're here for. That's what we're all about.
And
Thank
to
you
enjoy.
so much.
And to enjoy.
Yeah. And to enjoy.
Enjoy the learning. Enjoy the experience. Enjoy the growth.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Yeah. 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 Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good day, good night, and stay tuned. Thanks so much. I'm gonna stop this. Bernie, you could stay on. I'm gonna stop the live stream.
Okay.
I'm gonna turn off the recording. Hold on.